69% of supply chain leaders say they still have data integration problems. That's more than 2 out of 3. But here's the part nobody talks about. Most of those problems aren't in the ERP itself. They're in the connection between systems, the handoffs, the places where data moves from one tool to another, or more often doesn't move at all.
Welcome to the DocFlow Dispatch. I'm Pauline van Alstein, co-founder of DocFlow.
And I'm Michiel Gabriels, SDR at DocFlow and the show's resident researcher.
So this episode actually came directly from customer conversations. So we've had a couple of different forwarders this quarter telling us the same thing, and that's we won't adopt a new tool unless it connects to our ERP system.
And every time I asked, what does connects mean to you? And the answers were all different.
Which told us something. And that is that the industry doesn't have a shared definition of what a good integration looks like. We've covered the build versus buy decision in a previous episode, and today's different. So you've already bought the ERP. Now what? How do you connect it to your operations tools? That's today.
So we research what makes integrations work and what makes it fail. Let's get into it. Let me set the stage first. What does the ERP landscape look like for freight forwarders right now? And at the top, we have CargoWise. It's 24 out of the 25 largest global forwarders. They use it. That's 96% at the enterprise level, completely dominant.
But that's the top 25, right? So what about the forwarder with 40 employees in Antwerp or one with 200 staff in Rotterdam?
Totally different story. So only 44% of mid-size firms use SaaS-based freight management, and the rest, they use Business Central, so Dynamics, Stream, Scope. Some are running systems with login screens from 2008.
Yeah, I've seen those screens.
We all have. And here's the thing. Some of them have invested hundreds of thousands into those systems. Multi-year implementations, training programs, customizations.
And we're not here to say rip it out. That is not at all the conversation.
No, not at all indeed. So, and the numbers prove why you shouldn't. So 51% of ERP implementations go over budget. That's more than half. And the overruns aren't small. The average is 3 to 4 times the initial estimate.
Wait, 3 to 4 times?
3 to 4 times. So if someone budgeted $100,000, they end up at $300,000 to $400,000. And that's not a rounding error. That's a completely different project.
And what are the main causes for these overruns?
So we have 3 main things that kept coming back in the research. And underestimated staffing at 38%. You need more people than you think. Then we have the scope expansion at 35%. You start connecting one thing and then you realize you need 3 more. And lastly, we have the data issues at 34%. That last one is the one people miss.
Because the data doesn't cooperate.
Every time. You can plan the rollout perfectly, but if the data's messy going in, everything slows down. Garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
We all know it. Most people still underestimate it.
Yeah. Okay. So the ERP is in place. It handles finance, bookings, maybe even CRM. But then what happens when the operations start?
Yeah. So then there's a gap. I think of it like this. Your ERP is the brain. It stores everything, it remembers, but a brain without nerves can't feel anything. So the integrations are the nervous system. They carry signals between the brain and the body.
Interesting. And right now, for most forwarders,
that nervous system is a person. So your ops person copies data between screens, who switches between 4 tabs, who checks emails for a status update, and then types it into the ERP by hand.
And this is called the swivel chair problem.
That's the industry term. So your operation person is the integration layer. They are the nerve. And if they're out sick or busy or make a typo, the nerve goes numb. That part of the operation goes dark.
Hmm. So, how widespread is this? Are we talking about a few lagging companies?
No, not at all. We're talking about the industry. So 90% of data extraction in logistics still happens manually, 9 out of 10. And manual data collection achieves only 60% accuracy. That means 4 out of 10 data points could be wrong.
4 out of 10 data points might be wrong.
Might be wrong. And it shows up in real money. So 22% of freight invoices contain discrepancies, and 1 in 5 invoices has an error. For a mid-sized 3PL, that's $600,000 a year in billing errors alone.
That's just leaking out because someone mistyped a weight or missed a surcharge.
Exactly. And 10 to 15% of those discrepancies pass through without review. 1 or 2 out of every 10 errors just
Mm.
gone.
So let me make sure we're hearing this right. The ERP is there, it's recording the data, but the data flowing into it is unreliable because the connections between many of these systems are manual.
That's the gap layer. And the industry knows it. Only 20% of the logistics companies qualify as digital leaders. 75% still have largely analog back office processes. 3/4 of the industry. That's not a French problem. That's the default.
Yeah. And a single load tender touches how many systems?
So 3 or 4 easily. And the TMS for the booking, a tracking platform for the container, and an email thread with a carrier. Maybe a customer portal, and your ops person is the glue holding all of it together.
The human middleware.
That's a good way to put it. The most expensive middleware in the building.
Okay, so let's talk about what happens when people try to fix this because vendors love the word integration. Every pitch deck has it, every sales call mentions it, and we discuss it all of the time as well with customers. Yeah, what happens when people try to fix this?
Yeah, it's right. So this is where the research really got interesting. Integration isn't a feature, it's an architecture decision. Those are very different things.
Mm,
And there are 3 ways it usually fails.
okay, walk us through them.
So, number 1, we have the CSV import posing as an integration. I call this integration theater.
Yeah, integration theater. Okay, I like that.
So a vendor says, we integrate with your ERP. And what they actually mean is you can export a CSV from your ERP and upload it into our tool. Then maybe export another CSV back.
That's actually not really truly an integration, right? That's a file transfer that's maybe automated with extra steps.
It is, and it creates a delay. So by the time that CSV is uploaded, the data might already be wrong. So a vessel schedule has changed, a booking got amended, and the CSV doesn't know that, of course.
Yeah, so you've got stale data in your integrated tool and decisions being made on this old information.
Exactly. So on a snapshot, that's already out of date. Number 2, we have the one-way sync. So this is one sneakier because it feels like a real integration.
Okay, how so?
So data flows from the ERP to the tool automatically and in real time even, and it looks great, but nothing is coming back. So the tool enriches the data, adds information, flag exceptions, and none of that flows back into the ERP.
So now you've got 2 systems with different versions of the truth.
And your team has to decide which one to trust. Engineering spends 30 to 50% of their time troubleshooting sync issues. That's up to half their capacity, not building, but just fixing.
That's half your engineering capacity gone. Not on new features, not on improving anything, just reconciling data between 2 systems.
And the people doing that work, they're expensive. They have specialized skills. You hire them to build things, not to babysit on the data.
All right, yeah. And the third way integrations fail.
Yeah, so this is the most common one and also the most frustrating one. It's a 6-month implementation. A consulting firm comes in, scopes a big integration project, brings a project plan with phases and milestones, months of work.
And by the time it's live?
Your ops team has built workarounds. So they've got their spreadsheets, their email chains, their personal process. They've been running the operation their way for 6 months while waiting.
Yeah. And now you're telling them to change.
Right. And they don't want to because the workaround works. It's messy, but it works. And this is where the system champion research comes in. Companies that assign a dedicated owner get 85% participation and 90% proficiency.
Without a champion?
The people revert. The expensive new integration gathers dust. Your team opens the same spreadsheet they've used for 3 years.
Okay, now let's talk about the elephant in the room, CargoWise.
Yeah, I knew you were going there.
I mean, it's the biggest ERP in forwarding. Everyone has an opinion. What did the research show?
So, WiseTech, which is the company behind CargoWise, acquired E2Open for $2.1 billion. The strategy is clear. Bundle more and more into one platform. Be the only tool a forwarder needs.
That sounds great on paper, right? One tool for everything, one vendor to call.
Until the pricing changes. After that acquisition, WiseTech shifted 95% of customers to per transaction pricing.
So some forwarders actually reported cost increases of 20 to 25%. And there was a quote from a forwarder also that we discussed. And he said, "I'm scared to death every time I see a bill." So that's not a vendor relationship. That's almost a hostage situation. And we hear versions of this in every forwarder conversation. It's not always CargoWise, but the pattern is the same. You pick one big vendor, you go all in, and then your pricing power disappears.
And here's what tells you it's lock-in, not loyalty. CargoWise has 99% customer retention. Sounds amazing, right? But it's not because everyone loves it.
No, it's because switching is too expensive.
That's it. So custom API integration costs $5,000 to $25,000 each, plus 15 to 20% annual maintenance. So if a forwarder has 10 integrations, that's $250,000 in sunk cost. Walking away means writing all of that off, starting from scratch.
So the integrations that were supposed to help you actually become the chains that hold you.
Unless you design your architecture differently from the start, unless you make sure no single vendor controls all the connections.
That brings us to the real question, which is, what does a good integration actually look like? And if CSV is theater and one-way sync creates two truths, what's the right model?
Real-time, bidirectional, API-based. Here's the flow. So your ERP sends data out to a tool, booking data, shipment reference, customer info. The tool then enriches that data, adds verified ETAs, flag exceptions, update document statuses, and then comes the critical part. The tool sends that enriched data back into your ERP.
So the ERP stays the source of truth.
Always. One source of truth. Always current. And the tool doesn't replace the ERP, it makes the ERP smarter. Think of it as the nerve sending a signal to the brain and the brain sending a signal back. Two-way communication.
Yeah, it's not two systems with two versions of reality.
No, one source of truth that gets better over time. And this is where the middleware question comes in. There's a whole category of tools built to connect systems. The iPaaS market is $14 billion.
And iPaaS means what?
So it's integration platform as a service. Think of it as plumbing for hire. You've got general purpose tools like Boomi and MuleSoft, and you've got logistics specific ones like Dockflow.
And what's the difference in practice?
Speed. So there's a few companies that have delivered a logistics integration in 1 month. The internal build estimate for the same things was 8 months. That's a $700,000 acceleration benefit. Because a logistics-specific connector already understands EDI formats, booking structures, and shipment events.
And a general purpose tool has to learn all of that first.
Right. And it doesn't know what a bill of lading is, or it doesn't know what a shipment event looks like, and it definitely doesn't know the difference between an ETD and an ETA. You're paying someone to teach it, and that's your 8 months.
Versus 1 month with something purpose-built.
The difference is that stark. So, and the market is clearly moving towards that API first. So the API logistics market is growing right now. It's at 19.8% per year, from 1.5 billion in 2023 to 5.3 billion in 2030. That's tripling in 7 years. The industry is voting with its wallet.
So forwarders are spending on connectivity. They're just not always spending well.
That's the finding. So SaaS total cost of ownership runs 3 to 5 times the subscription over 3 years. Budget $1,000 a month. Your real cost is $3,000 to $5,000. Integration, maintenance, training, and workarounds.
People budget for the subscription, but not for the plumbing.
And then they're surprised when the real bill shows up. All right. So let me recap where we are. There's a gap between your ERP and your operations. Integrations fail in 3 predictable ways, and the real cost is always higher than the sticker price. Now let's make this useful. What should a forwarder actually do about it?
Yeah, so we boiled it down to 5 takeaways, practical things you can act on this quarter.
All right, let's go through them.
Takeaway 1, ask 5 questions before you buy any tool.
So a checklist for vendor calls, I like it. Give us the 5.
First, is the integration bidirectional or one-way? If data only flows out but nothing returns, you've got 2 sources of truth and a potential problem instead of a feature.
And one way is how most vendors do it.
Yeah, most, not all. Second question, is it API-based or file-based? If the answer is we only support CSV upload, then just run. APIs move data in real time. Files move data in batches with delays and with errors.
The third one?
Third question is, how long does the implementation take? So days or weeks, that's a good sign. It means the integration is pre-built. Months, that's a red flag. Either it isn't built yet or it's held together with duct tape.
That's a strong statement, but I've seen it. We've talked to forwarders who've been waiting 5 months for an integration to go live, and still counting.
Fourth, who maintains the integration after go live? So this one gets missed every time. The integration launches, everyone celebrates. 6 months later, your ERP vendor pushes an update. Does the integration break? Whose job is it to fix it? Is that in your contract? And is that clear?
Yeah, I've seen these break deals after the fact. Nobody thought about maintenance. Then the first API change hits.
And fifth, can I see a live customer running this with my specific ERP? Not a demo environment or a sandbox, or not a slide that says we support 50 plus integrations, but a real customer with live data, your ERP system. And if the vendor can't show that, then they don't have it yet.
Make sure to write those 5 questions down, print them out, bring them to your next vendor call. I'm serious about this.
All right. Takeaway 2, and that's mapping your data flows before you shop.
Okay, what does this look like in practice?
Honestly, grab a whiteboard or a spreadsheet or even just a piece of paper or a napkin. Draw every system where your data lives today. Your ERP, your tracking tool, your email inbox, your Excel files, your WhatsApp groups even. Yeah, even those count.
So you'd be surprised how much operational data lives in WhatsApp.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Now draw arrows between those different systems, show how the data moves, and then the critical step is mark every point where a human copies data from one system to another, every manual handoff.
Those copy points are your integration priorities.
Right there, the 60% accuracy problem, the 600,000 euros in billing errors, the hours your ops teams burns every day. Fix those connections first. Don't try to automate everything at once, but start with the copies.
Start with the most painful one, the one your team complains about every week. Prove the connection works, then move to the next one.
Yeah, and I talked to a forwarder who did exactly this. So they mapped their flows, found 7 manual copy points. They started with 1, and their invoicing errors actually dropped in half the next quarter.
Because they fix the data at the source, not downstream.
Yeah. And that connects us to takeaway 3. So that's the fact that your ERP is the foundation, not the ceiling.
Okay, explain that.
So this comes up in almost every conversation I have with forwarders, which is that they try to force their ERP to do everything: finance, bookings, CRM, tracking, reporting, customer portal, dashboard. And the ERP can do some of that, sort of.
But yeah, sort of isn't good enough when a customer calls about a delayed shipment.
Your ERP is a system of record. It handles finance and bookings really well. That's his job. But real-time operational intelligence, that belongs in specialist tools. A visibility platform that tracks containers live. An exception management tool that flags problems before your customer calls you.
So really like the kind of tool that pushes verified data back into your ERP.
Right. The ERP doesn't need to do everything. It needs to be the hub that everything connects to. That's a different design decision, and it's a more resilient one.
Because if one specialist tool doesn't work out, you just swap it. The API contract stays the same. Your ERP doesn't care which visibility tool sits on the other side. It just needs the data to flow.
That's the whole point. Your architecture is what protects you, not the vendor contract and not the sunk costs.
No lock-in by design.
Takeaway 4 is demanding a proof of concept before signing anything.
This one matters. Tell us about the phased approach.
So the research on rollouts is clear. Companies that use crawl, walk, run approach, they see 0 disruptions in months 1 through 3. That's the crawl phase. Small scope, controlled environment, and proving that the connection works.
And then what?
Months 4 through 9, you scale it up. 10 to 15%, fewer manual steps, fewer errors. That's the walk phase. So expanding into more data flows, more users.
And month 10 and onwards?
Then you go for 20% or more total optimization. That compounds fast. That's really the run phase. Stable integration, the team trusts it.
Okay, so start small, prove it works, and then expand, not the other way around.
And any vendor that says, okay, we integrate, they should be able to prove it before you sign. So show a working data flow with your ERP, not a slide deck or a roadmap, but a working connection with real data in a defined time frame.
If they can't show it, they don't have it. We keep saying that.
Yeah, because people still sign contracts based on promises, right? Then they wait 8 months for something that may or may not work.
Takeaway 5. Think in layers, not suites.
So this is the architecture takeaway. It's the mental model that really ties everything together. So think of your technology in 3 layers.
Okay, walk us through them.
First, there's the foundation layer. Your ERP, finance, bookings, system of record. That's settled. You've already bought it. The decision's made. Don't fight it. Intelligence layer. Visibility, exception management, ETA predictions, tools that pull data from carriers, enrich it, flag problems as they happen, and push verified data back into your ERP.
Okay, and above that?
Then there's the experience layer. That's customer portals, automated reporting, self-service dashboards. It's what your customers see and what they interact with.
And each layer should be the best available tool for that job.
Right. Connected via APIs, bidirectional, real time, not duct taped together with CSVs and manual processes.
So the era of one tool for everything is ending. And I genuinely believe that the companies that win will pick the right tool for each layer and connect them properly.
The research supports it, and it makes intuitive sense too. So your ERP vendor isn't also the best at tracking containers, and your visibility provider isn't also the best at invoicing. So just let each tool do what it does well.
And make sure they talk to each other. That's the job. Not finding the one perfect tool, but building the right connections between good tools. And here's what matters. When each layer connects through APIs, you can swap one tool without touching the foundation. Your ERP stays, your customer portal stays, one layer changes, and everything else holds.
That's the opposite of lock-in. That's resilience.
And they budget for the connections, not just subscriptions.
That's the lesson. The subscription is maybe 20 to 30% of your real cost. The rest is integration, maintenance, training, and workarounds. So budget for all of it.
All right, let's bring it home. 3 things to remember from this episode.
1, integration isn't a feature you buy. It's an architecture decision you make. CSV exports aren't an integration. Bidirectional API-based real-time data flow. That's what you need.
2, The real cost of any tool is the subscription, plus the integration, plus the maintenance, plus the workarounds. Budget for the plumbing, not just the faucet.
Then the third one, think in layers. Your ERP is the foundation, operational intelligence is above it, and customer experience is above that. Pick the best tool for each layer and connect them through APIs.
And ask the 5 questions before every vendor call, every demo, every contract.
If you want to see what an intelligence layer looks like in practice, it connects your ERP in days, not months. So check out docflow.com if you want to see a demo. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Docflow Dispatch.